Eliciting fan questions over the last week or so. So we're going to get to some of those fan questions, and then we will open it up to the media. Time permitting, we'll have some photo opportunities for the fans after the fact, if you just bear with me as I get through to this first question. All right, let us start with Mr. Latifi on the end. It's good to see you, man. This is going to be a question for all three of you guys. So you're the underdog here against Derek Lewis on Saturday night. The fan, Jake Irish MMA, wants to know, do you prefer being the underdog or the betting favorite in a fight?
Well, to be honest, I've been an underdog all my life. You know, since I started in the UFC, I started fighting in the 205 division. Everybody thought I was too small for that weight, and everybody was saying go down to 185. And, you know, I proved a lot of people wrong. And Saturday, let's see. And, you know, now I went up to the heavyweight division, you know, and I'm fighting a tough opponent, but I love the challenge, and I have no problem being the underdog, you know.
Katlyn, congrats on the title fight. Good to have you here in Houston. I saw you at the Rockets game last night. Well represented there. So you've been a favorite for a lot of your UFC fights. That is not the case on Saturday. Any preference for you either way?
Yeah, most of my fights I've been a favorite. I think if I was an underdog, it was super close. But yeah, it doesn't make a difference to me. You know, I think I do better with the higher level opponents I fight. I perform better. So I'm excited for this fight, and no pressure.
We're excited to see what you can do with the opportunity. Let's hear it. Yeah. Dom, good to see you, my man. Minus 185 betting favorite against Chris Weidman in Boston in October. Betting underdog this weekend. Do you have any preference, favorite or dog?
I've actually been the favorite in every fight in my UFC career.
I believe
so far. But this is the first time I'm an underdog, and for me, I get to just go out there and be free, man. I get to go full speed. I got nothing to lose. I mean, I don't see anything better than that.
No argument here. All right, next up here at MMA Tug with 2 Gs. This one for Ilir Latifi. With no weight cut, will we see a better and more durable fighter moving forward?
You know, last 3 fights was a hard time cutting weight, so this training camp, I feel great in fighting it, preparing in this division, and 100% see a better fighter.
Hearing these kids in the background kind of makes me feel like at home. I left to get away from them. No. All right, next up, this one from SXLL and then a bunch of Ys. It's for Dominick Reyes. How do you plan to exploit John's poor defensive and offensive boxing?
It's no secret that John isn't the best boxer in the UFC. He's a great kickboxer. He has great range. He uses his kicks very well, but he's not the best boxer. And I intend to exploit that. I think my boxing is probably the best in the division, and with footwork and fearlessness, I'll get in there and put these hands on him.
Katlyn, do you think style-wise this will be your most challenging fight to date?
I don't necessarily think style-wise. I think Valentina is definitely my toughest opponent that I faced. She has definitely the most experience, but style-wise, I mean, I guess I see everything in my training. I train with a lot of professionals that are in the UFC, have been in the UFC for years and years. So to me, I kind of train with the best of the best. I train with the best jiu-jitsu people in the world. You know, I go to Gleason's Boxing. I train with world champion boxers all the time. So, you know, she does everything, but I see that all the time in training. Right. But as far as in the actual fight, she's definitely my toughest opponent yet.
And the same question for you, Dominic. This is from Jesse_Regina. Do you see John as style-wise your most challenging fight to date?
Well, absolutely. It's John Jones, man. I mean, he hasn't been the king for as long as he has for no reason. Style-wise, it's a very, very tough matchup. But I'm ready for the challenge, man.
All right, appreciate the fan submissions. We will now open it up to the assembled media. We appreciate every last one of you coming out here on a Wednesday. Do we have a microphone circulating for the esteemed members of the press?
John, we got it.
All right, fire away.
Yeah. For Dominic, I want to ask you, I mean, when you look at John's fights and you see the wins that he's had, do you see like a commonality among all the opponents? I mean, is there a mistake that everybody has made or most people have made against him?
I think the most common mistakes all his opponents make is they let doubt creep in. They let the John Jones monster get in their heads, and they start doubting themselves within the fight, and then he takes over. And then once he takes over, you're not coming back.
And as you were kind of putting together a game plan, I mean, obviously we've seen what he's accomplished and how great his record is. I mean, do you see a real weakness in his game that you feel like you can exploit, or is it a matter of, just having to go out there and fight a perfect fight to beat this guy?
It's a little bit of both. There's holes in everybody's game. I can't exactly tell you exactly what my game plan is, but there are holes. And it's a combination of watching everybody fight him, and it's kind of putting everything together. He has so much film on him, and I'm able to get that film, break it all down, figure out all the probabilities, all the statistics on his fights, and put it together. But at the same time, I got to be the best version of myself, and I have to fight a near perfect fight as well. Nobody's perfect, but I got to be close.
Nice. And I guess maybe outside of, game plans and style and training, what's the biggest piece of advice Joe Stevenson has given you?
Believe in yourself, kid.
Fair enough. Thanks, Tom. Katlyn, I kind of want to ask you a similar question. I mean, you're both facing very dominant champions, of course. So when you watch her fights back, I mean, do you see a commonality that opponents have made, the mistakes that they've made when they've gotten in there?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar to what Dominic said. Each person, is different styles. So I kind of look at them and see how their fight went with her. Some of them, a lot have completely different styles than me, so it's a little bit hard to tell. But yeah, I break down some of the fights in my own head, and then before I say what I feel, my coaches break them down and tell me what they say. So we kind of go back and forth, and I like to kind of make my own ideas before I hear their ideas. And together we just kind of make a game plan, and I trust everything they say, and I believe in my abilities and what I'm capable of. And I think with those two, with the game plan and my abilities combined, I think that, I'm pretty confident.
Right. Certainly the biggest fight of your life. I'm curious, what's one change, one addition, one thing that was new this time around that you hadn't done before that you feel like is really going to be a key to you winning?
I would say that my last couple fights, I kind of made a couple little changes. I've been sparring a lot more. For me, I know a lot of fighters are tending to veer away from sparring, but for me, I feel like I learn the best if I actually spar. If I hit the mitts and drill things, everyone can do that perfect, but getting the reps in and sparring is kind of, for me, how I learn. So in my last couple fights, I've been sparring a lot more than normal. I used to spar like 3 days a week. Now I'm sparring 5 days a week. But that's kind of what change I made in the last couple fights, but definitely kept that going for this fight, for sure.
Thank you, Katlyn. And then for Ilir, if I could, I'm sure with no weight cut, you're enjoying this fight week a little bit more than most. Is this move to heavyweight certainly permanent? I mean, do you know this will be the rest of your career, or do you feel there's kind of a wait and see with how things go on Saturday?
Right now, this is where I feel comfortable, fighting in heavyweight, but you never know in the future, Maybe I'll go down again. So I'm open to fighting in both divisions.
Nice. And let me ask, with you being at heavyweight, do you think it'll affect the type of fighter you are, the type of game you can implement? I mean, your power has always been a big thing, but moving up to heavyweight, do you feel like your game plan will be more on speed or, tactics like that?
Of course, it's a different kind of way fighting 205 to a heavyweight. You just have to adapt in the right way so you don't miss the positive things you have from fighting in a light heavyweight. Of course, my speed is something that I'm gonna use in the heavyweight division. So putting on too much weight is not good either, So it's a hard balance, and it's something that you have to find a good way to balance.
John Morgan, thank you very much. Any other brave souls out there? Mark Raimondi.
First for Dominic, Anthony Smith was on Ariel's show on Monday talking about how he felt like John Jones tried to play mind games with him during fight week when he fought him, and everything has to be kind of on Jones's schedule. Have you felt that at all now that you're here in Houston? Do you feel like that Jones is trying to play mind games with you?
No. I mean, I do my things on my schedule. This is my fight, so Jones can't touch me.
And then for Katlyn, I noticed you're wearing an interesting fashion sneakers. What happened? What happened over here?
Limited edition.
It's a good style.
Thank you.
Were they Nikes?
Maybe.
A lot of people, Katlyn, have talked to Dom and asked him about John Jones, and Dom has said a few things like, you can't let the fact that you're going up against someone as good as John Jones affect you going into the fight, right? You can't let it get into your head. Are they cutting my mic? Are you feeling the same thing about Shevchenko? Do you feel like people have kind of almost defeated themselves before they stepped into the octagon against her?
Yeah, I absolutely did. And, when I've watched her fights when they were actually happening, I didn't notice. But going back and, when this fight got definitely signed and I was watching those fights, I kind of noticed the demeanor in some of the opponents' fights compared to when they fight other people. And they did really well. And I think they went into the fight just trying to get through the fight and not really to win. I think it's different to get through a fight, and to win is a totally different mindset. And I think that some of them definitely went into it, a little defeated before and just trying to perform as good as they can, but, a little bit safe and just trying to be careful, but not necessarily go in there full 100% confidence that they can win.
The fights that were tougher for her, is there anything that you can take from those fights that you can possibly apply on Saturday? And is she as good as people say, do you think, just from watching her film and everything?
Yeah, I mean, Valentina is definitely very good, and that's why she's the champ for a reason, and that's why, everyone knows who she is. But, I think, like, when she had her amazing head kick knockout, everyone saw that and it was like, she's such a killer, and she is very good, but most of her fights were decisions. So it's kind of like, which makes it great for me because there's a lot of rounds to study. She's had a lot of 5-round decision fights. So more tape for me to study and look and see how she does against different opponents. But, I think when a fighter has a crazy knockout, they always expect that for the next fight. But you got to look at not just the highlight reel, the whole fights and everything.
And then just for Ilir, so how bad were some of those weight cuts recently down to 205?
Well, I cut around 35 pounds, so was pretty big weight cuts, and yeah, I've done that enough. So it's pretty nice, coming fight week and being able to eat good food and stuff. I'm not used to that, so yeah, it's very different.
So when you fought at 205, like how much did you weigh coming into the week, like on a Tuesday?
Well, yeah, I don't know right now, but maybe I had 20 pounds.
So are you much happier right now on a Wednesday?
Right now I'm feeling good, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Dominic right here, up here. How do you plan on displaying the mama mentality that Kobe Bryant left us before he left this earth and display it Saturday on this big stage in the biggest fight of your career?
I'm chasing greatness, man. And I believe in myself more than anybody could believe in me. It's about me. It's about the hard work I did. The Mamba mentality comes from the hard work I've done in this camp. I'm ready to go. The work I've done has been done. Now I just gotta believe, and I believe. Oh man, I believe. I can't wait, man.
Do you think to shock the world, we're not going to make this an MMA fight? You just got to take chances and do some stuff that nobody's done to John, even risk being on the wrong end of the knockout, but to put him into comfortable positions to shock the world? Because it seems like people turn into sparring partners when they fight him. It's kind of same too for Katlyn. What do you have to do to keep from being sparring partners with these great fighters that y'all fighting on Saturday?
No, I agree with that statement. Absolutely. A lot of people end up turning into a sparring match. I'm willing to go in there and get knocked out if I have to. I mean, you got to put yourself in danger. It's the biggest risk, makes the biggest reward. So I'm ready to go out there and throw down, man. I'm ready to bleed as much as necessary.
Same for Katlyn.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, everyone just goes in there and sparring partners. I think when there's a dominant champ, then everyone goes in there and just tries to play their game. And I think the most important part is to go in there and for me and just play my game.
And does it bother you the fact that there's perceptions out there that it's Valentina and everybody else, and you're kind of like with everybody else? Is that extra motivation? Because it's like that for the whole division.
I mean, I've been motivated, my whole career, so I don't need other people to tell me stuff or say stuff for extra motivation. But, that's just how the game is. And, it's not up to me to sit here and tell you guys what I'm gonna do. It's up to me to show you guys on Saturday.
And my last question is for Ilir. How excited are you to deal with the Houston people? I'm from Dallas, but I know Houston people are going to show up and show out for Black Beast.
Well, you know, I have a lot of respect for Texas and Dallas and Houston and all the people here. I've been around. I know the American people from here are very proud, and you know, it's a big honor to be here fighting. You know, I'm fighting Derek. He's a hometown boy. I have a lot of respect for him. Fighting him, it's a big challenge. So we're gonna put on a show on Saturday.
Dominic, right here. During the countdown, they showed you on a bike watching Jon Jones, like in his fights. But I'm curious, even before you were booked to fight him, between fights, how closely were you studying Jon Jones for a possible future fight?
So, as I've come up through my UFC ranks, I've kept an eye on Jon, but I haven't exactly studied him like this. I'm focused on my next task at hand, and in order to get to the top, you got to focus on the next step in front of you. So I've been focusing on those steps. I can see the top, but I'm focused on what I got to do, and that's what I've been doing.
And then after your knockout of Chris Weidman, you tweeted like southpaw precision and like a gif of the knockout. And since watching Jon Jones' last fight, he hasn't really fought a lot of straightforward southpaws, a lot of switches. I think Ovince St. Preux and Lyoto Machida, and maybe had not his best performance into those outside of the choke. So I'm curious, is facing a southpaw a kryptonite of Jon Jones?
I'm not. We'll find out on Saturday, man. I'm a true southpaw, so we got that. I got this left hand with me right here, and we'll see what happens.
Anybody else? Last call, Mike Baum, what do you got?
This is for Dominic and Katlyn. Obviously, you guys both very confident going in there against dominant champions. Is it your expectations that if you win these fights, there's going to be immediate rematches, or do you think you win so convincingly that that's not something that comes up? Dom, you can go first.
He definitely deserves a rematch after I beat him. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think anytime there's a dominant champ and they lose, I feel like they deserve that. So yeah, I'll give Valentina a rematch.
All right, any last takers? We good, Lene? Yeah, all right. Well, thank you all very much for coming out, fans and media.